The Newberry tennis team takes on Lenore Rhine Saturday, and we've got all the action. Wrestling coach Darrell Brown tells us about Newberry's trip to the Division II championships. And the Newberry community remembers Billy Walker. All this and more coming up on Wolves Weekly. From the Langford Center studios at Newberry College, this is Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica. While many students were enjoying spring break last week, some of Newberry's athletes were hard at work. The tennis teams were no exception. On Monday, they faced North Greenville University, with the women pulling off a 7-0 sweep and the men winning 5-2. Then on Saturday, they were up against Lenore Rhine. Our team was there, and Alexa Gambarino has this report.
On Saturday, the 22nd, our team witnessed an epic battle as the women's and men's team of Newberry faced off against the Lenore Rhine Bears. The women's team started strong in doubles. Emma Arnall and Renee Dorbal delivered a solid performance with minimal unforced errors, securing a 6-4 victory at number 1 doubles. Lena Sarhan and Hazel Bernon faced a tough challenge against Lenore Rhine's number 2 doubles team, falling short with a 2-6 loss. In the final doubles match, Alexa Gambarino and Margarita Roshka had a slow start, but fought back from a 2-4 to take a 5-4 lead. However, they ultimately lost 5-7, giving doubles point to the Bears. The Wolves were ready to battle for their singles point. Renee Dorbal dominated her first set, while Alexa Gambarino prevailed in both of hers, making them the first 2 players to put points on the board and giving Newberry a 2-1 lead. Lena Sarhan played an incredible match against a tough opponent, remaining composed and making few errors to win 6-0, 7-5. Securing the 3rd point for the Wolves. Finally, Ana Miralles closed out the day with an impressive 6-4, 6-3 victory, sealing another conference win for the women's team. On the men's side, the team started strong, but Lenore Rhine held their ground. Joshua Fritz and David Nisawi played an intense doubles match, showcasing great net plays and rallies. Meanwhile, Lucas Merck and Santhan Reddy faced a tough challenge, losing their match 2-6. James Vincent and Daniel Watson fought hard but fell short, losing 4-6, which gave the Bears the doubles point. The Wolves were determined to turn things around in singles. James Vincent put on an outstanding performance, staying aggressive at key moments and minimizing errors to secure a 6-4, 6-3 victory and earned the first point for Newberry. Gabriel Fernandez battled through a difficult match, winning the first set in a tied 7-6, winning 7-0 the tiebreak. Meanwhile, David Nisawi also claimed a hard-fought first set, 7-5. Unfortunately, the Wolves ultimately failed to Lenore Rhine, with James Vincent securing the team's lone victory, ending the match 1-4. Despite the loss, both the men's and women's team displayed a high level of tennis and fierce competition. The Wolves will continue their conference play this Tuesday against Catawba College, where they will look to deliver another strong performance. Alexa Gamborino, NCTV.
My dad was a farmer. The guy was bigger than life. He wasn't someone that liked to show his emotion or liked to show when he was struggling, but we all struggle. I want to show emotion to my kids. It's something that brings me so much joy, and I want them to see me working through things. Allow your kids to know that it's okay to struggle, that even dad doesn't know the answer sometimes, but we're gonna figure it out together.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5.
Okay.
Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Newberry Wrestling just finished up their season. They went 8-8 overall and had 4 competitors competing at the Division II National Championship. Here to discuss some of this is the coaching staff of Newberry. How are we doing today, coaches?
Doing good, Paul. Appreciate you having us, man.
Absolutely. If you guys will just briefly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do here.
Yeah, so my name is Darrell Brown. I am the head wrestling coach here at Newberry College. Proud alum, graduated in 2013. Was actually teammates with this guy. Came back in 2018 to work as an assistant before bouncing to another school in Conference Carolinas to be a head coach, and came back here in 2021 to be the head coach, and really excited to be back.
It's incredible.
And I'm Bryant Blanton, associate head coach. Like coach, I'm an alumnus from Newberry, class of 2011. Been around pretty much since I graduated, and also teach a couple classes as well. I teach College 101 and 102. But again, like coach, happy to be here and excited to be, finishing up another great season and ready to get started recruiting for the next crop of kids.
Yeah, that's a really good story. What does it mean to you all to be able to kind of come through the program, be a part of it, but then now be able to be on the coaching level and take them to the national championship?
Yeah, it's really special. I mean, Newberry is a place that I have always felt of like being home. So to come back and be a part of the program that I feel like is really a defining factor in making me the man I am in today. It's when I put my feet on the floor in the morning, I can't think of anything else I'd rather do than come here and help give back to the program and the school that gave so much to me.
Yeah, and just to echo what Coach said, giving back to these guys, and also just having not only done what they're doing in terms of being a student athlete or being wrestlers in college, but doing it here, I think matters as well. I think it's something that is not necessarily unique to us, but I do think we uniquely bring that perspective to Newberry College and to our guys as guys who did it not only at this level, but at this institution.
Yeah, that makes sense. So describe a little bit some of the things you noticed on the trip to Indianapolis, things you guys like to see, things you felt could have been improved at the national tournament.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest things I noticed is, this was a unique year in that it was a festival year. So for those who aren't familiar, it's where the NCAA brings together 5 different championships. They have men's and women's swim and diving, men's and women's track and field, and then obviously wrestling as well. So that required us to get out there a day early. So the biggest thing I noticed is that it's a fun event for sure. Don't get me wrong, they do a great job, but it does take us from Newberry a day earlier than traditionally I think we would like to be out there. So just moving forward, I'm excited to get back to another year where we're on a more normal schedule. But as far as, the trip itself, it was awesome. It's always fun traveling with this group. Indianapolis is a city we get to every year for the Midwest Classic, another huge tournament at the Division II level. So we're really familiar with that area. And I was really proud of our guys. Obviously, we want to come back with more hardware. You want to do that every year. But at the end of the day, really proud of them.
Yeah, I think, with a really young lineup, we had 6 of the 10 weights we had this year were freshmen. So kind of took our lumps throughout the year and struggled a bit, but it was nice to, at least in my opinion, and Coach, you can tell me if you disagree, but I felt like we really peaked towards the end of the year. The regional tournament is probably the best we wrestled. Got 4 qualifiers out, had 7 placers, I believe, total. So to take a lineup that young and have 7 placers, I think is pretty special. And then take 4 qualifiers to the national tournament and, just didn't have the best draws and even with that being said, still wrestled well, really competed, and came up just shy in really all those matchups. So, like Coach said, it would be nice to bring some more hardware back, but at the same time, those matches that we lost were ones that, we're competing with national finalists, national champs, guys ranked 1, 2, 3 in the country, things like that. So, really reassuring to know that we're peaking at the right time of year.
I love that. I truly do. What do you think are those adjustments that you all are seeing that could lead to you all bringing some more hardware back? You mentioned that it is just a young crew. I'm sure that's something that excites you. So what's kind of the future looking like in some of the things that you feel you need to adjust?
Yeah, I think experience is the best teacher. So we retain, at least 3 of the 4 guys that went to the championships this year. And so just having that year, that championship experience under their belt in itself will help. But I also think, just being a little bit more intentional. I think this year we were kind of plagued, and you would agree, with some unfortunate season-ending injuries. And so just being a little bit more intentional about educating guys on what components should be included in a proper warm-up, working with our athletic training and strength and conditioning staff to figure out what we can do to just, on a preventative maintenance side of things, try to help us stay healthy a little bit more throughout the season.
For sure, I think that was a big part of kind of what led to the 60% of our lineup being freshmen. But at the same time, we've got talented guys up and down the lineup, 2 and 3 deep. So we like to think that we're not having to rebuild, we're just reloading. But at the same time, I think with the inexperience comes a lack of some of that stress management and maybe competitive maturity. Just some of the mental things that I think that these guys can grow and develop a little bit more. And I really think that can be a big part of the answer as well.
What do you think this says about Newberry College, the Newberry community, and why do you think people do want to attach themselves to this program?
Yeah, I think we have proven over the last 20 years, that we in the Southeast and on the national stage are traditionally one of the best teams in the country. And so we continue to recruit at a high level, and we're continuing to retain at a high level. And it's a special place where people want to come be a part of the family. I think every program will preach, we're family in any sport. But I think the guys on the team will tell you, as a coaching staff, and even from our older guys, the leadership perspective, we're really intentional and deliberate about making sure, not only family in the wrestling room, but outside of the room too. And that's something that is really special to us.
And I think one thing that Coach and I really pride ourselves on is our development. We don't, the transfer portal has definitely thrown a curveball in some of the way we've done things, but as a program, that's, like Coach said, we're only 20 years old, and we've won 10 Super Region titles. We've brought home hardware from the national tournament plenty of times. We finished second in the nation back in '09. So we've sort of been to the highest levels, and I think with I think the transfer portal is something that we need to continue to adjust and adapt with that. But as far as guys who come in our program, we're huge on developing those guys and taking guys who maybe aren't quite ready yet, and by the end of their career, they're on the podium as All-Americans or national champions.
I just want to say congratulations. Y'all had an incredible season. Thank you so much for coming here today, being on the show. I wish you all the best of luck next season and in the recruitment process.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Wolves Weekly will be back in just a moment.
Yo, camping buddy. Okay, you guys ready?
Dude, I thought you were driving.
I thought you were driving.
Oh, I never said I was driving.
I definitely can't drive.
If you're high, just don't drive. It's illegal everywhere.
If you feel different, you drive different.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
You're watching NCTV Newberry.
Last week, we took a few moments to remember a special member of the Newberry College community, Bobby Sides. Last month, we lost another person who made a big impact on this place. Billy Walker's loyalty to Newberry College only strengthened after he graduated in 1969. Although his career as an attorney kept him busy, he always found time for his alma mater. As a supporter and advocate, as a board member, and as chairman of the Board of Trustees for 14 years. Cornelia Rutkowska spoke with some people who shared their stories of knowing Billy Walker.
Who was Billy Walker? You know, Billy was absolutely committed to Newberry College. He was a champion for Newberry College. It's even hard to describe. I mean, he was just so passionate about his alma mater, so committed, willing to do whatever it took. Fierce defender, biggest supporter, just a really passionate guy in everything that he did, both as an attorney, as a father, as a husband, and as a Newberry College grad, and we were just blessed that he was on our side.
You know, I met Billy 20-something years ago when I first came here, and his passion for this place never wavered in the 20-something years that I've been, you know, calling him my friend. I think that Billy Walker probably loved Newberry College more than anybody I've ever met in my entire life.
Billy Walker was a walking Newberry College billboard. The man, I know it's funny, right? But he loved this institution. He was a proud alum of Newberry College. Everywhere that he went, he sung the praises of Newberry College.
I remember one time we were up at Western Carolina, and of course we were supposed to lose because they were paying us to play the game. With a minute and something to go on the clock, it was the fourth quarter, and we were winning. And it was 3rd and 15, I'll never forget it. And out of nowhere, a flag pops up, and there wasn't a flag on film, and it gave them an automatic first down, and they eventually went on to win the ball game with time running off the clock. Billy went crazy. He went up into the press box at Western Carolina complaining to the athletic director, to the president of Western Carolina, about how they paid the officials to cheat for Western Carolina that day. It was an amazing day.
I think he influenced a whole generation, or maybe even 2 generations of Newberry College students, faculty, staff, alumni, leaders, coaches. It's one of those very rare things where you don't get to meet somebody other than maybe the president who has that kind of influence on so many different people.
I've heard him say so many, he said so many stories about how he was able to grow as a person in Newberry, how he was able to find himself, how he was able to find his passion for law, how he was able to play basketball at Newberry College. Newberry College meant a lot to Billy Walker. And you know, when you think about it, you know, over my shoulder right over here, there is Walker Hall, which is named in his honor. So, you know, that kind of that's one of the things that goes to show how much he means to the institution.
I was there today at the groundbreaking of it, the ceremony, and he was just beaming that day that you know, from a kid. He was a kid that walked this campus to having his name on the side of a building here on campus. I can't imagine what he was going through that day emotionally.
people forget the impact. It's not just the name on the residence hall. It's not just the man who was kind of bigger than life. It was just all those things wrapped into one, and he was just an absolute force of nature.
To Newberry College, he was a pillar that this place is built upon.
You know, you don't want to overstate things because it's always easy to have recency bias, but you know, if there was a Mount Rushmore of Newberry College grads, Billy'd be right there.
Jason, let's go see your room.
No, that's not right. How was it? Is it good?
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
It's something about having that piece of paper. Some people think that's worth more than my skills.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
You just gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Analytics and empathy. That's how I've gained clients.
I am more.
I'm more than who I am on paper.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Thanks for hearing me out, bro.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica, along with Paul C. Fisher. And now let's get to the scoreboard and get you caught up with all the action that took place over the past week. This past Saturday, the women's lacrosse team dominated Catawba 19-6 at historic Setzler Field. Senior attacker Emma Jobs led the way, scoring 7 goals on the day, and Serena Elias also netted 5 goals. The Wolves outshot the Indians 41-17, and the defense forced 24 turnovers in the match. The Wolves improved to 7-3 overall and 4-1 in the conference, where they currently sit in 4th place, and will look to carry the momentum against Limestone University, who are atop the conference standings at 5-0 this coming Saturday in Gaffney.
And on the men's side, after a thrilling win last week over the 5th-ranked Wingate, the 20th-ranked Wolves returned home and crushed Catawba 12-5. Newberry opened the game with an impressive 5-goal first quarter, never looked back. Although Catawba would draw within 2 goals in the 4th quarter, the Wolves ended the game just as they began, scoring another 5 goals in the last frame to win going away with it. Scott Williams netted 4 goals on the day as Newberry improved 7-3 overall and 4-0 in the conference. They will also face off against the undefeated Saints at Limestone this weekend.
In softball, the Wolves continued their winning ways last week, besting the Coker Cobras in both games of a doubleheader, and took that momentum into the games against Limestone at the Smith Road Complex this past weekend. The Saints took Game 1 by the score of 6-2, but Newberry responded by coming up with a 9-6 victory in the nightcap. With the split, the record now sits at 17-20 overall, but more importantly, 7-5 in the conference, and that puts the Wolves in 6th place. They have a midweek doubleheader at UVA Wise this week.
In baseball, the weekend got started off on the wrong foot as the Wolves dropped the first game of the weekend series to the 14th-ranked Catawba 13-2. It wouldn't get any better on Saturday as the Wolves were beaten down 10-1 in the first game of the doubleheader and then dropped the final 5-3. With the sweeps, the team drops to 15-16 on the season and is 5-13 in the South Atlantic Conference. The Wolves will host Coker University for a 3-game set this weekend.
And finally, in tennis, as you saw earlier in the program, the women's team earned the 4-2 victory over Lenore-Ryan University on Saturday in Newberry, while the men lost 4-2. The men's team has a season record of 4-8 and 2-4 in the SAC, while the women are 9-3 and 5-1 in the conference. Both teams will host Catawba this week and then be on the road at Lincoln Memorial this coming weekend. And don't forget that you can always find the latest information on Newberry College athletics anytime at newberrywolves.com. You can find the latest scores and updates, see full rosters and schedules, learn how to get tickets and team merchandise, and so much more. All this is available anytime, anywhere at newberrywolves.com. And you know, Paul, we just had our spring break show last week, and I mentioned very briefly that for many kids, you know, you're buying tickets to go down to Florida or sunning yourself on a beach or something. Right. But the fact of the matter is, the athletes, they don't get that opportunity. They are here giving their all. They were still performing all week long, and that is just a big extra challenge that our athletes really do have to, you know, give of themselves all the time throughout the entire year.
That's so true, and I think that's something that not everybody looks at or examines. It really just depends on when your season is. Like you said, for example, the tennis players, baseball, softball players, they didn't get a spring break. Right. But for the wrestlers, the basketball players, over winter break, they were also on campus. You're also still playing, and so it really just depends on when your season is. But that's a sacrifice that not everybody looks into, that you almost don't really get those breaks even when you're supposed to get those breaks.
Well, you know, you hear so much about the athlete. I mean, in order to excel in that sport, you really do have to give everything. You have to give your entire life, and especially those who are really good enough that are going to perhaps make that step to the professional level. I mean, that is just incredible, and we have seen that. We've had great, you know, we've had national champions here, especially in the wrestling program, for example, and they have to give all of themselves. But you know what? The cool thing about all of this is that it doesn't also, it's not just limited to athletes. We talked about Billy Walker, Bobby Sides, and those important people who really were part, just a fabric of this community here, and even throughout their lives. You know, they may not have been athletes, but you know what? They still gave back. They still gave their all decades after they graduated from Newberry College. And that's what a special place this is, and those special people too.
And that is the case, is once you go through here, once you become an alum or anything, that sacrifice is always there. The care is always there. We talked in a few episodes back about homecoming, just the sacrifice that have to be made there when people are still donating years after and things of the case. But you're right, the sacrifice doesn't ever end there.
Nah, it doesn't end, right? Every day is a new day, and every day is great at Newberry College. That's all for this edition of Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica.
And I'm Paul C. Fisher. Join us next time for more Wolves Weekly.
Keeping you up to date on the latest in Newberry College athletics, it's Wolves Weekly, available on Flow Sports and produced by NCTV Newberry.